Alrighty, guys, at the end of the year, it's not often that we get to talk about new castings. Usually the things in the movie industry are winding down as we head into December and into the new year. But, surprisingly, and this is a surprising piece of casting, although I think it's a good one, depending on who she's playing, we have something interesting and new to talk about as the Batman Part 2 continues to head into production, head towards that, I think, spring or summer 2026 filming date, as we had previously talked about, because now all of the major sources have seemingly confirmed a very prominent actress, one who is very familiar with the superhero industry. I don't know why we're bearing the lead. Scarlett Johansson is apparently in final negotiations to star, or to appear at the very least, and what this Deadline article says in the title says, eyeing new role opposite Robert Pattinson. So that seems to indicate it's a significant role, though we don't know what it is. Scarlett Johansson is set to appear, if these negotiations are finalized, in the Batman Part 2. This is what the Deadline article has to say. We're going to read just a little bit here, just at least the important bits, and then we will kind of talk about my thoughts on it. So it says, exclusive, after spending almost a decade defending the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Black Widow, the Bat Signal may be calling Scarlett Johansson DC Studios' latest chapter in the Batman series. I think there are some typos here. Anyways, while it is unknown where things stand in the deal-making process, sources tell Deadline that the Oscar-nominated Johansson is in final negotiations with the studio and director Matt Reeves for one of the new roles in the Batman Part 2. If a deal closes, she would join Robert Pattinson, who is set to reprise his role as the Caped Crusader in the upcoming sequel that Reeves is writing and directing. Okay, so a lot of interesting things here. We'll get to the discussion at the end, although I don't think any of us have a clue as to who she's playing, or at least, just based on this alone. But we can talk about some potential theories and options, but we'll get there at a later point. But I think, again, the number one thing, Scarlett Johansson, right? Because we all know her, most of us know her from Black Widow, but she is a great actress, and she was recently in Jurassic World Rebirth, which she did a fine job in, I thought. But I think it's important to remember that she is a prolific actress in her own right, in terms of not just the superhero movie and blockbuster movie industry. She's done some really great movies outside of that. I think her role, it was just a voice role, but her voice role in Her was also great as well. So she's done a lot of great work, right? And she is a great actress. And getting great actors and actresses to join big franchises is always a good thing, I think, adding more talent to these movies. So getting Scarlett Johansson to be a part of this new Batman sequel, I think is very, very exciting. Obviously, we don't know who she's going to be playing. We don't know how significant her role is, although, like I said, just purely based on the tenor of the article, one might be able to speculate that it's a more than sizable role, right? It's not just a cameo, one would hope, at least, if you're getting Scarlett Johansson. So I think it's exciting, right? Just to kind of think about the fact that Scarlett Johansson might be joining an already interesting cast. We don't know who else is joining Robert Pattinson. We don't know who the villain is going to be. Maybe she's going to be the villain, for all we know. And there are some options there as to who that might be. But again, we don't know who this character or who she's going to be playing. And so that leads to the question, I'm sure as the speculation will wear on, who is Robert Pattinson, who is Scarlett Johansson going to be playing in the Batman Part 2? Well, if it's a villain, right, we don't know any of the major villains so far in the Batman Part 2. I think Matt Reeves has said before, it's going to be someone that hasn't really been done in live action before. So some of the biggest female villains in the Batman Rogues Gallery, one might think Poison Ivy. Well, Poison Ivy has been done before by Uma Thurman, so definitely not Poison Ivy. So we think, at least. Although, if Matt Reeves is just talking about the main villain, because maybe there's a main villain, but maybe Scarlett Johansson is playing Poison Ivy as a side villain, sure, that's possible, but I'm probably going to rule that out here. In terms of other characters, though, I mean, I don't think it's Barbara Gordon. I don't think it's obviously not Catwoman, right? We've had Zoe Kravitz play Catwoman, TBD whether or not she's coming back to play Catwoman, but it could be a member of the Falcone family, right? It could be a crime boss member. It could be a crime gang family member. Could be a crime boss, right? There are a lot of questions. I'm not as into the Batman lore, into the DC Comics lore to know every single option that it could be, but it could be a completely new character as well. We don't know, right? We just don't know. Bottom line, though, as I say with all these major casting announcements, especially the ones that we just don't know who they're going to be playing, it's super important to get good actors and good actresses in there. It adds legitimacy, but it also adds good talent to these movies. So I'm excited to see who she's going to be playing, especially because this is going to be her first foray into DC from Marvel. So I think that is always an interesting thing and an interesting angle to keep an eye out for. But guys, I'm pretty excited. And I want to know, are you guys excited for Scarlett Johansson to be joining the Batman Part 2? Let me know in the comments down below.